Coming in at number 66, we have Cincinnati Bengals defensive tackle Geno Atkins. And, this one might surprise some people, honestly. Not that it should, by any means. If you weren't surprised, you shouldn't be surprised. But it just might surprise some people, as it seems kind of to be the hip and trendy thing to do in the NFL today when dealing with aging veterans to, at the very first and even sometimes smallest hint of regression, just to want to bail water on these guys, right? Because now all of a sudden they must be has-beens who are washed up and they're trash, right? We don't want to watch these guys on Sundays anymore because they're past their prime and irrelevant. Well, that couldn't be further from the truth, right? And if you don't want to watch Geno Atkins on Sundays, then you most certainly don't love football, because no, he wasn't prime Geno Atkins last year. That's why he has slipped a little bit on my list, but don't think that this man wasn't in probably the top 90% of defensive tackles when it comes to production, when it comes to what he showed on film, when it comes to everything, right? We can say that it was his first year since 2014 having less than 9 sacks. And, I want you to kind of let that sink in real quick. This man's had 9 or more sacks every year since 2014, and we're just going to bail on him after one season of 4.5 sacks. That wasn't even that bad. I realize the sack total is down, but like his QB hurry number, he put up 26 last season after having posted years of 33 the previous 2 before that. So that's 80% of the QB hurry production. And even if that is down a little bit, that's still higher than DeForest Buckner for the 49ers. That's higher than what he put up last year. And nobody's sitting here saying that he's a washed up has-been pass rusher, right? Because that's just ridiculous. And I think it's kind of ridiculous with Geno as well. I do agree that his play has taken a step back slightly, but to act like he doesn't deserve to be on a top 100 list like this, that's completely ridiculous. And hopefully, if you don't think he belongs, then by the end of this video, I'll have convinced you otherwise. And first off, just in terms of what makes Geno so good, to me, you've got to begin with his explosive first step, right? As even in his advanced age, this man still is one of the most consistently quick guys in the league off the snap, right? As obviously we know Aaron Donald, we know the Grady Jarretts, but after that, I really do think there's an actual discussion for who is quicker than him off the line of scrimmage on a consistent basis. There's very few guys, if any, right? So I want to grab a couple plays here. As he's been a Pro Bowler 8 of the last 9 years for a reason, and I do think if I had to put it on one trait, it is just his quickness off the snap. So here's just one quick play against the Jaguars, where what you're going to see is he is part of the focal point of this double team here between A.J. Cann and Juwan Taylor, where they're trying to work from Geno to the mic, right? Well, look at how Geno just completely disrupts this instantly, where on his first step, he's going to hit a beautiful swim move to the point where Juwan Taylor, he's not even able to react and get inside enough to cut Geno off. And as a result, he gets a pretty uncontested tackle in the backfield for a loss. Just plays like these are so impressive because, he was literally supposed to be blocked by 2 men, and, it still somehow makes a play within 1.5 seconds of the snap. Just wildly impressive plays like these that he wasn't only making last year, but again, it's made him such a great player over the last 10 years as plays like these have been a staple of his career. And I like this next example here because it's nothing crazy that Geno necessarily does. It's just another really nice play at the line of scrimmage. But what you're going to see is where he's making contact with the offensive lineman here, the left guard in this case, opposed to everybody else on his D line, right? So, let's pause this after the snap. Look at where he's engaging with this left guard. See how he's almost a yard further than everybody else in the backfield? That's simply because he is so quick, as soon as that ball is snapped, at getting upfield, getting hands-on, and ultimately, in this instance, shedding his blocker and making a play in space. Just plays like these are so impressive because, again, you would think that maybe Sam Hubbard, a young guy on his rookie deal, would be quicker off the snap. Well, not than Geno Atkins. You'd think maybe Carlos Dunlap, who we all know how explosive he is at that defensive end spot. You'd think maybe he would be quicker off the snap. Well, no, not with Geno Atkins on your team, because he is consistently one of, if not the quickest guy off the ball every play. And next up, I wanted to talk about Geno's short area quickness, right? As he's not only one of the most explosive guys in the league, but he does a great job of leveraging that explosiveness and using it to simply beat guys to the spot in a lot of instances laterally, right? To where he's able to capitalize on the fact that he's facing bigger and slower interior offensive linemen on a regular basis. So, I just grabbed a couple plays here where you're going to see him lined up as a 3-tech between Justin McCray and Chris Hubbard. But look at how on this outside zone play to Nick Chubb, look at how he's just able to, always stay a step ahead of Chris Hubbard and never allow Hubbard to effectively reach him and gain leverage on him to wall him off from the play, right? I really went in depth, I should say, on reach blocks in my David DeCastro video, right? So a reach block is essentially when, as an offensive lineman, you're trying to work to the front half of a defensive lineman, or any defensive player, I should say. So in this case, Chris Hubbard is trying to get to Geno Atkins' right shoulder to prevent him from making a play on this outside zone run. Well, the problem is Geno, he's just so quick in these short areas to where even when Hubbard does get a little bit close, Geno's just able to explode out of any kind of engagement that they had, and as a result, make a play right at the line of scrimmage for no gain. Next up, I wanted to talk about Geno's hand usage, right? As he just has some of the most active hands of any interior defensive lineman in the league. I know one kind of common thread that you see amongst a lot of these guys is that, they find themselves content being blocked in a sense, right? As, once an offensive lineman kind of captures them and, the play might be going the other way, they'll just kind of stand there and take it. Well, Geno Atkins, he will not do such a thing ever. He's the absolute opposite of content being blocked. He's not content until he disengages and sheds your block, right? And that's exactly what you're just going to see on a play like this where, the play is going away from Geno. It's an outside zone play to the right. Well, look at how even though Justin Britt, he has a pretty simple down block right onto Geno as that one tech. Look at how Geno's just going to instantly just shuck him to the side, toss him into the turf and then shed ultimately until he is able to bring down Chris Carson down the line of scrimmage. Just plays like these are so impressive because, again, sometimes you'll see even the best defensive linemen, they'll just kind of stand there and take it because, whether they're fatigued, whether they're tired, whether they don't think they're going to be able to make a play. Geno, he has one of the highest motors, and a lot of that you see in his constant hand usage. It's not just the hand usage that's impressive, though. It's the hand placement that makes the usage so effective, right? So, when you're shooting your hands as a defensive lineman, you want to get them right up into the O-lineman's chest to kind of shock them back. And especially in the run where they're trying to collapse that space between you, you want to get extension and keep as much space as possible so you can shed them and make the play on the ball carrier, right? Well, look at how Geno on this play just gets perfect hand placement right in Joe Biatonio's chest and ultimately is able to ride him down the line of scrimmage until he's able to shed and ultimately bring down Nick Chubb. I know he kind of went for a ride there, but we're just talking about the hand placement. And when it comes to hand placement, you can just see right where they are, right in Biatonio's chest. As a result, he's never able to gain leverage on that reach block. He's never able to prevent Geno from leaking out the side and ultimately making a really nice play on Chubb in space. And here's a just fantastic play by Geno as he's going to be working from the weak side as a one technique between the center and left guard. And you're going to see the Rams running a outside zone play to the right, where they're going to have David Edwards, the left guard, try and reach Geno. Well, again, Geno's just too quick for that. He has too good of hand placement on a regular basis for that. As you're just going to see him put them essentially right on the numbers of David Edwards' jersey and drive him 2 yards back into the backfield easily to where when Todd Gurley has to cut back to the left because Sam Hubbard on the front side, Geno's right there disengaging and making the play. Just absolutely beautiful stuff that, I can't say enough about because, again, you would think that a guy who is kind of declining in the court of public opinion, you wouldn't expect them to be making plays like this game in and game out, but Geno most certainly was. And next up, obviously, just because you can place your hands doesn't mean you're going to be effective with them. You have to, pack a punch behind them and have some sort of strength to go with them, right? And Geno Atkins most certainly does. So I grabbed a couple plays here where, this first one is going to be him lined up as a 3-tech, as you're going to see them twist here against the Jaguars, in which he's going to just slant right into Cam Robinson and really just blow right through him for a pretty easy sack on Gardner Minshew. It just plays like these, again, where, a guy who is best known for his first step and kind of his finesse, he also has the power to just bully guys essentially when they're not able to get a clean punch and, they're not able to have their hips square to them, for instance, as Cam Robinson is not. He was kind of unsuspecting here, given the nice kind of sell on that edge rush by the defensive end, and as a result, Geno's able to just kind of jack him up and drive him into Gardner, essentially. Here's another great play from that same game where you're going to have Geno on the opposite side now going up against A.J. Cann. And, this play, you see A.J. Cann try and flop backwards to, sink his hips and regain leverage on Geno, but Geno's just too much of a load for AJ to handle. And that's exactly what you're going to see is look at how Geno, again, just places his hands right in his chest, gets extension, and just going to motor him right into Gardner for almost a safety. He was an inch, 2 inches away from putting 2 points on the board for the Bengals. And, again, it just plays like these where you wouldn't necessarily expect a 32-year-old defensive tackle to make on a regular basis, but he is. And Gardner, he has the awareness to just narrowly get out of the end zone. But again, the point stands. It's just a beautiful play that Geno makes primarily because of his strength. This play right here is just the perfect example for why looking at simply box score and counting statistics is not enough when you're trying to evaluate defensive linemen, right? Because Geno Atkins here, he's not going to get a tackle, he's not going to get a sack, but this is probably the most disruptive play I've shown you guys in the series to this point by a defensive player, right? And and now I've hyped it up a little bit. Here's going to be Geno going up against Justin Britt on this play action pass play. Look at how he just has great hand placement, first of all, but how he packs a punch with that hand placement and is able to just drive Justin Britt back so far to the point where he runs into Will Dissly, crossing back across the formation on this play action play. Not only putting Justin Britt on the ground, but forcing Dissly to be held up to where Russell can't hit him quickly to the flats, and he ultimately is able to play off of both of those guys and bring down Russell with the QB hit just as he throws the ball away. I mean, this is the epitome of disruption, yet it's not in any simple stat sheet that you're going to see on an ESPN or NFL.com box score, right? But that doesn't mean he's not making plays like these on maybe not a game in, game out basis, because that one was a little bit excessive, but he is making great plays as a result of his strength. And next up, kind of the natural progression from strength is going to be into the practical application of strength in your ability to anchor, right? And by anchor, what I mean is essentially take on double teams and take on multiple offensive linemen at the line of scrimmage to prevent them from climbing up and getting hands on your linebackers. Because, no, if this is an outside zone running play, Geno Atkins, he might not be able to make this play on his own. But if he's able to hold up Justin Pugh just enough, perhaps one of these linebackers is going to come uncontested and is going to be able to make that play as a result. That's why, again, you can't just look at the stat sheet because, you're never going to see someone's ability to anchor simply by looking at their own tackles or sacks, right? So, this is just a great play where what you're going to see is Justin Pugh, he tries to leave a little bit too early on Geno. He's going to give him a weak little shoulder block. But look at how, even though he does stand Geno up a little bit, how Geno's just too quick, he's too explosive, and ultimately too strong, in which he's able to withstand that contact, fight through it, and then ultimately shed off of AQ Shipley to still make the play at really the line of scrimmage on David Johnson for no gain, despite being really the center of the double team in a sense between Pugh and Shipley. And this play here is a pretty solid example of actually what I just referenced in terms of keeping linebackers clean and allowing them to make plays. In this case, again, because of Geno's ability to anchor, right? So no, he's not involved on this tackle. He's never even really close to Kareem Hunt. What I want you to see is how just the fact that he doesn't get driven off the ball here by Joel Biatonio and J.C. Tretter. Look at how that frees up Nick Vigil, who they're supposed to work to with this double team. Look at how that frees him up to pop backside and make this play on Kareem Hunt right in the hole. And I'll make sure to play it again for you guys so you can see what I'm talking about, because you might be saying, well, how do you exactly know that that's who they're working to? Well, look at their eyes, right? J.C. Tretter, he knows that he's supposed to be getting to Nick Vigil here. He's the mic. On most running plays, the center does tend to be going in the direction of the mic. Well, here's the thing. Again, because Geno Atkins is doing such a great job of holding both of those guys up and anchoring on that contact, look at how, again, Vigil's just able to slide over into really that B gap and ultimately bring down Hunt for a loss when, again, that necessarily wasn't something that Nick Vigil did special. It was really something that Geno Atkins did special that allowed Vigil to make a play. And, this is to me the huge problem with simply relying on like advanced statistics, right? As, there's no analytic that can quantify just what Geno Atkins did there and what he allowed for Nick Vigil to do. That's why I hate when people talk about like, positional value using like, EPA or EPA plus and all these kind of bogus statistics in my mind, because you can't quantify the impact that Geno just had on that play. That play, it goes down on the stat sheet for Nick Vigil. He's going to get a positive EPA plus, whereas say Geno Atkins, he's going to get absolutely nothing on that play, even though he is ultimately the one who made the play. He just didn't make the tackle. And these next couple plays are going to be all about Geno's ability to simply stack and shed, right? As if you're new to the channel, to me, this is really at the foundation of everything you're going to do in a gap control scheme as a defensive lineman, right? As really your job is to get hands-on, get extension, and then ultimately find the ball carrier, shed, and make the play, right? It's really kind of the basis of everything you're trying to do, in which, it's kind of encapsulating everything we've talked about to this point, right? So that's what you're going to see Geno do on these next couple of plays, in which you're going to see the hand placement, you're going to see the strength, you're going to see the explosiveness and short area quickness as he sheds, and ultimately the ability to finish in space and bring down these running backs for a loss, right? So here's going to be just a simple play on a run up the middle against Jonathan Harris, who, he was an undrafted free agent a couple years ago. Well, Geno, he's going to remind him why, right? Is just look at how here, again, hands right inside the chest. He starts to bench press him off him, and then just instantly he's able to shed and bring down the running back right at the line of scrimmage for no gain. Just plays like these that, for a guy who, again, as I said earlier, he's primarily a finesse player. Geno is able to stack and shed guys on such a consistent basis that he's one of the best run defenders really as well. And it's a huge reason why I still have him rated so high. And here's another great example, right? This time it's going to be going up against the Raiders left guard, Richie Incognito. And ironically enough, Incognito, he's kind of known for being a bully, right? Well, Geno, he's going to turn the tables on him. He's going to take his lunch money on this play, where what you're going to see is, again, just a perfect example of, in a real short amount of time, you're going to see Geno perfectly place the hands right in Incognito's chest, get a little bit of extension, just enough to where he's able to find the ball carrier and ultimately shed and here help prevent a touchdown right on the doorstep of the end zone. As I'll make sure to go back so you guys can see that one more time. But you're just going to see, just very quickly, you're going to see the hand placement right in Incognito's chest to kind of stand him up and make sure that he's not able to drive Geno right here on the goal line. Look at how hands are in, hands are extended, and then ultimately he already can see where the ball carrier is. As you see his head, he's peeking around Incognito already. And then, considering it is just such a quick hitting play up the middle, Geno's, he's trying to get this done as quickly as possible. And as a result, he's just going to toss Incognito, who his balance was a little bit off. It's the goal line, so he is just kind of firing out to make contact. Well, Geno, he's going to use that against him, just toss him on the ground and ultimately shed him to make a really nice play and prevent a Raiders touchdown. I hate to keep saying it, but here's another just perfect example where Geno, he's going to be lined up as a 3-tech again against the Bills' right guard, in this instance, John Feliciano. And look at how on the stretch play in Geno's direction, look at how he's just able to, again, just as he did on that previous play, just get instant penetration almost, get the great extension, be able to locate the ball carrier, and shed to make the play. And you're really going to be able to see it from this view. You're really going to see that massive extension that he's able to get as he really just bench presses Feliciano into the backfield. And at this point, I mean, what is Feliciano supposed to do, right? I mean, Geno, he's in full control of this rep, and as a result, Geno, he's able to shed to the outside if the running back decides to go out there where the play is supposed to go, or if he's going to try and bounce it back in. Geno has such good leverage with that inside hand that he's able to come back across and make the play in that A gap, and that's exactly what he's going to do. As you see there, just a beautiful play by Geno where, again, he's just bullying these offensive linemen with really just, again, putting everything we've talked about together to beat them consistently at that line of scrimmage. And before we do get into Geno as a pass rusher, I did want to give one final example of him just stacking and shedding, right? Because to me, it is so important to your responsibility as a defensive tackle against the run to be able to do this well. And I hope some of you guys have either found a newfound appreciation or, you have appreciated just the perfect execution by a guy like Geno of that step-by-step process of, okay, get off the ball quick, hands on, right in the chest, get good extension using that strength, finding the ball carrier with your head, and then utilizing that space you created with your hands to shed and make the play in space, right? To me, that's just so impressive for guys to do on a consistent basis well. And, that's exactly what you see with Geno. So, he did it so often on film. I feel like I had to give you guys more than just one or two clips. So, as I said, I apologize for boring you guys, but we gotta show some appreciation where it's due, right? So here's a great example where just look at Geno in relation to everybody else on the Bengals side of the ball, right? I already paused it about a half second in, but look at how he's already crossing the line of scrimmage, where I said the 1-tech here or the opposite defensive end, they haven't really even got out of their stance, right? Well, what does that quick first step allow Geno to do? It allows him to mix with some great hand placement right in Mike Person, the 49ers right guard's chest. It allows him to essentially reestablish the line of scrimmage 2 yards back behind where it initially was, right? And, if you have a defensive line of people who can all do this, that's how you have a dominant defense against the run, right? Well, unfortunately, the Bengals, they don't have that. It's obviously Sam Hubbard and Geno are doing their jobs, but look at the guys on the backside, right? We have a double team blowing the 1-tech back to the Mike. We have another 49ers offensive lineman being able to climb up free to the will linebacker, and ultimately that's what causes these massive gash plays, right? Well, Geno, he's going to try and do his best to prevent those types of plays. As look at how, again, you see the great extension with his arms. Look at how he's going to find the ball carrier. Obviously, he's right in front of him, and then he's going to be able to shed and just make the play in space behind the line of scrimmage for a loss. And it just, again, it's just so impressive to me and so fun to watch for me. So I do hope some of you guys appreciate plays like this. You're going to have him against Gabe Jackson, the right guard of the Raiders, where, what you're going to see is not unlike what we've seen to this point, right? You're going to see good hand placement, active hand usage. You're going to see the quick first step, and then really he's just going to explode past Gabe Jackson's hips to kind of bend that edge right into Derek Carr. And, it's plays like these that have made Geno so effective over, as I said, nine sacks or more in every season since 2014 until this year. Well, that doesn't mean that he's not a disruptive pass rusher. As I said in the intro, 26 QB hurries, that's nothing to scoff at, right? Well, here you see why. Just look at how initially off the snap, he's going to have really good hand placement in terms of he gets that right one in there, but as he's kind of clubbing with that left hand to help move Gabe Jackson out of the way so he can slide in, into this B gap and clear Jackson's hips as he works to an edge to get by him. Well, then once he does that, kind of tosses Gabe Jackson to the side. As you see, that's really the strength component of this type of pass rush. As watch the movement that he's able to generate on Jackson here, because as you see, Jackson not a great position to be in as an alignment. Look at how Geno, he just completely displaces him with that violent club, right? And as a result, he creates a bunch of space here, just like we saw in those stack and shed scenarios. And then from there, the explosiveness as he just closes that gap between him and Carr very quickly to bring him down for a sack. And since I did run a little bit longer than I wanted to on stacking and shedding, I'll cut you guys a break here and let you out early on pass rushing, right? Because we all should know by now just how great of a pass rusher Geno is. Whether you're a Bengals fan, you've seen it on a week in, week out basis for really the last decade, or if you're a fan of an opposing team, I'm sure Geno's terrorized his fair share of your opposing offensive linemen and quarterbacks as well, right? As here you're just going to see again the perfect combination of the quickness off the line of scrimmage as he puts great hand placement right onto Dieter's chest, and then once he reads pass, he uses that strength to kind of swipe Dieter away from him, create that space, generate that area just enough for him to accelerate to Fitzpatrick, and as a result, he clears Dieter's hips and shows off that burst again as he just plants Fitzpatrick and forces a kind of errant pass, right? And it just plays like these on a consistent basis, again, that have made Geno not only so dominant over really the past decade, but has continued to make him so dominant into 2019 and hopefully going forward here as we hit 2020 and beyond, right? But lastly, if you guys did enjoy this video today, make sure you not only leave a thumbs up, but also leave a comment in the comment section down below. I always say it, but I'd love to hear your thoughts and feedback on my evaluation and ranking of Geno, but I'd also more importantly love to hear yours as well. So if you think he's too high, let me know why. If you think he's too low, tell me why down below, right? But make sure you give reasons. I hate when people just say, oh, that's disrespectful and stuff like that. We see it a bunch on the NFL's list. You've seen it on PFF's list, and I've seen it on my list, right? And it gets infuriating because if you're trying to actually make an argument and trying to actually convince me otherwise, then you got to have some kind of basis for your claims, right? And if you're just going to, send me a 1 word to 2 words, whatever you want to say, that doesn't do anything, right? So try and give me some substance and try and convince me why he should have been, say, maybe 65, maybe 67, maybe number 1, maybe 100, maybe off the list entirely, right? Obviously this is subjective, but I'd love to hear your opinion on where they subjectively should have placed. So with that being said, other than that, all I'd say is subscribe. If you do want to see who I have ahead of Geno, who are the final 65 guys in my series, make sure you do subscribe to get these videos in your sub boxes so you can hopefully enjoy them just as much as I'm enjoying putting them out. But really, that's all I got for you guys today. I'm mic'd up, and I'm mic'ing out. Peace, guys.